show his scars, say these wounds. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgotten. For he today who sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Got a question for you. Who's got it better than us? Nobody! Each other has...
Welcome to the Big House, CFB Nation. How are you? I'm Andy, and we're back again with another episode. So let's get right into it. Fall camp date has been announced. It will be July 31st. We finally have that date. Wolverine fans, it's almost here. We've made it through the slow summer months, and fall camp is right ahead of us. Now, the eyes of college football will be on the quarterback position. Now, how much has Alex Orji progressed since the spring game in April? Has Davis Warren shown enough? Is he the most competent passer in the room? Jack Tuttle, he's finally healthy. He's going to actually be competing for the job. Can he come in and kind of take the job away from the top two? Is Jaden Denigel someone that is going to make leaps and bounds? Is Jaden Davis, the true freshman, going to be someone who's going to continue to improve what he did this spring? It's going to be interesting to see what happens. So I kind of want to figure out who wins the job. I think for everyone involved, I think Alex Orji needs to win the job. He's the most athletic mismatch at the position in the entire conference, and I will stand by that. Orji is arguably one of the most athletic quarterbacks in all of college football. If we expand on that, if he can show that he's a capable passer, he doesn't need to be elite. If he can show that he's on the spectrum of a Jalen Milroe as a passer, that's fine. If he can process his first read and kind of decide if he wants to throw it to him or kind of dump it off or kind of take off and run, I think every Wolverine fan would take that because of the upside that he brings as the season, kind of goes along and he gets more comfortable in that system. With Davis Warren, he looked good in the spring, but how would he be for 12 games? Does he have the upside as an Alex Orji, or is he just someone that is just going to be what you see is what you get? Someone that's going to be 13 for 20 for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. But with Orji, you kind of have that threat of being a runner, someone that creates chaos for defenses. If he's on the field for every single snap, all 11 defenders will have to be on alert. They can't just put 8 in a box. If Orji can show that he does have a touch in the passing game. Linebackers will be a mismatch if Orji kind of bootlegs out, and with that linebacker, he has to make that kind of snap decision. Does he charge up, or does he drop back, or does he freeze? And then Orji kind of has his way with them. There's going to be a lot of chaos involved with Orji, and then if you kind of bring in Donovan Edwards and also Khalil Mullings, it just creates a lot of chaos, and then it also frees up Colson Loveland to kind of work the short to intermediate route. So I think for everyone involved, I think we need Alex Orji to win the job. And I think he did good enough in the spring. And I think with the 3 months that has since transpired, I would expect a little bit more growth from him as a passer. I think it's good that Davis Warren pushed him, but at the end of the day, I think Alex Orji will be the starter day one, game one, and for the season. Now, with the start of fall camp, that means the annual Michigan barbecue event at the Big House is coming. The only thing Richard Rod did for the program that was relatively good is this barbecue event. He was the kind of the creator, the inventor of this when he was the head coach for the program. One thing that he wanted to do was to kind of bring all of these recruits in from all these different classes, potential recruits, guys that are thinking about Michigan, to kind of bring them in, kind of see the atmosphere of the big house, have a big barbecue, just a big family atmosphere. And that has kind of been a tradition ever since Richard got fired. And, with this season, it's going to be a big event. You have a 5-star wide receiver in Jerome Miles. He's coming in for an event. You have a lot of recruits that have already committed coming in, and you have some other uncommitted, higher profile names that are coming in. You have also a 4-star corner in Jaden Sanders. He's coming in. You have recruits from the 26 class, even some in the 27 class who are going to be there. So this really does kick off, the 26 and 27 recruiting class for Michigan. This is a big event. It always coincides with the start of fall camp. So this will be something that is something to kind of worth, watching and see, what dominoes come from that. Does Jerome Miles end up committing to Michigan? He was committed to Ole Miss, recently decommitted. Pretty much any and every program out there is currently covering that 5-star recruit out of Utah. For those of you that don't know Jerome Miles, he broke a 40-year-old track record in Utah, ran the 100-meter dash in 10.36 seconds. He is someone that is a physical specimen. When you kind of take a look at his profile and what he does well, he's kind of that mix between an AJ Brown and a DK Metcalf type of a mold. So if you kind of look at that kind of a player, that's who he kind of reminds me of. Now let's get into our game 2 preview. We have Texas coming up, and so that's going to be our preview for today. What are the expectations for Texas now? With Texas, they opened the season against Colorado State, and Texas does have some questions of their own that they have to answer. How will that new receiving core mesh with Quinn Ewers? Is Isaiah Bond the wide receiver one? Is Matthew Golden someone who's going to emerge as one of the starters? Reports coming out of spring is that he's been working with, that second group. He hasn't been able to kind of, crack the starting lineup. You have the coaching staff who have been raving about DeAndre Moore. He potentially has been working out of the slot all spring. So you kind of wonder how that receiving core is going to look like. You also have Silas Bolden, who's coming in from Oregon State. He is a speedster. He wasn't able to come in early, so he wasn't at the spring game, but he is now enrolled at Texas. He brings that juice. And you also have Jonte Cook, who's an exciting 5-star prospect. He kind of made headways last year. Is he going to be someone that kind of, takes that next step? So it's going to be interesting to see in that receiving room what the pecking order is going to be like. And then if we take a look at the running back game, you have CJ Baxter. How is he going to fare as the RB1? Last year for game 1, week 1, he was the RB1 and he lost the job to Jonathan Brooks. How will the Texas, defense look? That's the big question mark, is that defense. How are they going to be? How are they going to look? How are they going to mesh together as well? So there's a lot to kind of look at when you look at, Texas versus Colorado State. On paper, it's going to be a blowout. That's not any question. I would expect it to be at least a 3-score kind of a game. And then Texas really pulls away. They kind of pull their starters out to kind of save it for that big game on week 2. But, if we break it down with Michigan, Michigan is going to have to answer the question of who is QB1. And, if it's Alex Orji, if he's going to be that guy, is he going to be comfortable? Does he feel comfortable? Is he going to command the offense? Is he going to command the huddle? Is he going to be the guy? Is he going to be named the team captain? He is from Texas. If he's named starter, this is going to be a huge game for him. To have Texas come to Ann Arbor as a Texas kid, a win against the Longhorns is going to be something that he'll never forget, and the program will never forget. Is Michigan going to have Will Johnson shadow Isaiah Bond, or is Johnson going to stay on one side of the field And then you have, the other corners kind of have to, figure out if they can kind of mesh with the Texas receivers. How is the blitz packages going to look for Wink Martindale? Does Wink Martindale have the trust in that secondary to unleash those exotic blitz packages? We've seen that Quinn Ewers, he struggles with pressures, and last season he was horrible at it. His pressure to sack ratio was over 20% last year. So if he is someone that gets pressure, he will crumble. So is Wink Martindale going to put that secondary at risk to have that front four kind of get to the quarterback? With that NASCAR package that Michigan has, they'll be able to rotate fresh bodies in throughout the entire game. That's something that the Texas defense cannot say they can do. Now, with the thing that I have a real kind of question on is Michigan going to be able to run the ball effectively? That's the thing that we kind of have to see. Donovan Edwards, yeah, for everything that he's done well, there's been times where he struggled, behind that line, struggled to kind of find his lane, his path, kind of, struggled to wait and be patient for that hole to open up. Is he going to be able to kind of run behind that revamped Michigan offensive line? Is the Texas, front four going to be stout enough as well? That's the big question mark. Is Colson Loveland going to get involved early? Is the Michigan offense going to let Alex Orji settle down by getting a few early passes off his chest early, kind of get him into rhythm, kind of get him to kind of mellow out? And if that's the case, you kind of have to get Colson Loveland involved early. And at the end of the day, whatever happens, at that quarterback position, you have to limit the turnovers for whoever it is back there. Now, the results, what's going to happen? If the Michigan defense shows up to create pressure and Ewers makes mistakes, Donovan Edwards, he's going to have one of those statement games that he's known for, and this could be a coming out party for Alex Orji. He have that potential to be that Anthony Richardson type of a quarterback prospect, or is he just a really raw quarterback? This game will be on Big Fox. It's going to be one of the premier college games of the entire season. And if that with that game, they'll have a lot of eyes on it. And with that, there's going to be kind of some recruiting eyes on that. And let's kind of look at the recruiting process so far for Michigan. We have recently a 3-star wide receiver, Philip Wright. He committed to Michigan. Michigan has spent over the past decade ignoring the state of Louisiana, and Sharon Moore has made recruiting in Louisiana a priority. They've had 3 recruits from Louisiana now committed to the Wolverines. He is 6 foot, 170 pounds. He chose Michigan over LSU and Georgia. Wright took his official visit June 14th, and that visit really sealed the deal for him. This was a big recruit for the Wolverines because they came into the South. They came in SEC country, and to be able to get a receiver away from LSU, away from Georgia, that's pretty important to have, to kind of have that presence in the South for future classes. And with wide receivers coach and one of the head recruiters at Michigan and a Louisiana native, I think the importance of having Rod Moore or Rod Bellamy there and kind of going home and recruiting in the state and being able to kind of get into that state and get 3 impressive recruits in the first year really going in there, I think that says a lot. With Wright, he did mention that he was going to kind of recruit other Louisiana guys to come to Michigan. He mentioned that he was going to try to get Jabari Mack. He is the wide receiver 1 in the state of Louisiana for the 26 class. He mentioned that he's going to be trying to recruit him. So this kind of gets the ball rolling to see who else they can get for the 26 class and the 27 class. So who is Philip Wright? He is a dual sport athlete. He does have a 10.45 second in the 100-meter dash. He does have a 4.39 in the 40. Now with him, he is someone that has good vision. He does have a knack of, kind of creating separation and, being really good with the ball in his hands. He is someone that is a creator with that. And he is also a returner. He does return punts and kicks. So that is something that Michigan might be able to use when he is on campus. With Wright, he's a fluid athlete. He tracks the ball well. He uses his speed to kind of create separation. I really like that about him because he knows more than just one way to win. And I like that when you're taking a look at these high school recruits who will kind of continue to get that coaching. And we know at Michigan, they definitely do get coached up. Now, they also got 4-star defensive end Julius Hawley to also kind of commit. He is 6'3", 230 pounds, and he chose Michigan over Georgia, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. It's another recruiting win over the SEC programs. And, I kind of told you guys when the new staff kind of got developed and there were some concerns, some rumblings here and there. I said, the recruiting class, the recruiting coaches and the staff, it's improved. It's going to get better. And, I said that this year, while they got started late, 2026 and 2027, those are the classes that you kind of want to look for. And they're kind of getting the ball rolling early. And so I really do like what they've been able to do. Now, if we go back to Hawley, he is a Georgia native, a top 300 prospect. He has that frame to easily get to 250 pounds, if not 260 pounds. He does show good quickness off the line. He does have some good move sets, and he can kind of string along those moves and get some good combination to kind of beat his offensive lineman and to get him off balance. So I do like that. I do like his stride. He's someone that I think can be a force for Michigan. And we know that with Michigan, they don't typically play a lot of freshmen. So when they do, watch out. And it's a big indicator of their future. And one player that did just that last year was defensive tackle Trey Pierce. Now, with Trey Pierce, he is 6'2", 300 pounds. He was a 3-star in the composite for last year's class. He's out of Chicago, and he was the 20th ranked player in the state. Last year, he played in 13 games. He cracked the rotation at defensive tackle as a freshman. That was huge, and he was also a key contributor on special teams towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. He also kind of, saw some playing time in the national championship game as well. So what should we expect for the upcoming season? With him, I do expect him to be part of that NASCAR package to kind of rotate in. I do see him being with the second and the third unit. He is a big bodied run stuffer. He is someone that is going to have good mass and he's going to occupy a lot of space, and he's going to occupy some offensive linemen. With him, I think what you're kind of hoping for is to kind of spell that first line and to not look out of place. You pretty much, what you want is you want to kind of see him cause some chaos, have offensive lineman have to double team because he is so big and, kind of that big bulky mass kind of a guy. So I do kind of like what he brings to the table as part of that NASCAR package. Now, the throwback player of the day today that I want to talk about is quarterback Devin Gardner. He was a Wolverine from 2010 to 2014. He was the number one rated dual threat quarterback and perhaps the most athletic player on the field. He would go on to play wide receiver just to get playing time. He would get switched from quarterback to wide receiver and then back to quarterback. And at no time did Devin Gardner ever complain. He just kept his head down, found ways to make an impact. He actually led the team in receptions before he was asked to move back to quarterback when a shoelace was injured. And he did well as a quarterback, and he eventually was the starter for the 2013 season. And he was excellent in that season. Gardner was also awarded the Tom Harmon jersey, the number 98 jersey. And at his time at Michigan, he was someone that you always kind of wondered, what if? And he was someone that I think had a lot of untapped potential. He was someone that, was a really good player. And at the end of the day, he was someone that did whatever he, could do to kind of help the program. Now, with Gardner, he would go on to spend time with the New England Patriots, the Pittsburgh Steelers. He would also spend time in the CFL, and he would actually go to Japan as well. Now, with Gardner, he did begin his media career with the Fox family of networks, and he would call games. And with his, insights into his commentary, he would get moved up the Fox college ranks, and now you can hear him announce games in the booth every Saturday for, this upcoming season. I believe he's with the second or the third team that they kind of have now. And also, he is a 4-time Emmy Award winner and a true Michigan man and a Michigan icon. Now, that concludes our episode for today, and I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Welcome to the Big House. A special thank you to Dwight Peoples for that intro, Nino Brown for producing me, and the entire CFB Nation family. Until next week, who's got better than the CFB Nation?